In this video, I want to show you how to mount watercolor paper to a board. That helps the painting process because the watercolor paper now won't buckle up as much or at all, which really makes it easier to control washes. I have Canson watercolor paper, just 140 pound, and also have here a board. It's not too thick. A thicker board would even make it more flat when you go to paint, but this will work. And then I have is a really inexpensive brush. I think this is from the dollar store, and this is the adhesive. It's a neutral pH adhesive, so it's an archival adhesive from Lineco. You can also use white glue, but you have to dilute the white glue to the consistency that allows you to brush it on, but not too thin. And then I have a cup here where I will pour the glue into and then go ahead and put it on both sides and then attach them together, then burnish them, and then let it sit and dry. So before I do that, though, I'm going to put just a random piece under the flat surface I have here because I'm going to be obviously painting off and it'll get on the area around it. And, I don't want to have to clean up a mess. So you can, any sort of just paper that you have. And then what I want to do is make sure I'm going to paint the right side. So on this paper, I'm looking for the textured side, and I'm going to paint the back of that. And then I'll paint the top here of the top side of the board. So the next step is to pour some glue into here, maybe enough that I think that's going to take to paint this. And you can see the consistency. It's a little bit runny, a little bit, but you don't want it too thin. So what I'll do is use my brush and I just paint the entire back side here. Now I can feel that it's kind of sticky, so it's obviously going to be thick enough. Another good thing about having it a little thicker is because it won't bow or double up as much when you attach it. But you can always put a book on it later after it's dry, and the gravity will force it back down and to being flat again. Okay. I also want to make sure I'm getting the edges because the edges sometimes don't glue as well as the middle areas. Now, one thing you want to be careful about is painting over and then moving your paper into the wet glue, because then it gets on the front of the paper and that's no good. That will come up when you go to paint. Okay, then I'll paint this side. Of course, there's a little bit of work to doing this. So on sort of paintings where you're not going to have a lot of big, large washes, this, isn't needed. But if you're going to do a painting where you're going to put a lot of wet into wet, large wash areas, then having a more stable surface really is helpful. Otherwise, the paper starts to bend and you get valleys when you're painting, and then it's hard to control that and so forth. If you paint more vertical, that's not always such a problem because the paint flows down. Okay, now what I'm going to do is take the paper and I want to line up the edge here very carefully. Bend this back this way. Come down at this corner lightly touch it so you can get it registered really well. And just register this edge. Now these are both exactly the same size. Okay, like that. Now I'm going to take another paper and put it on top because I think even if I happen to have a little glue on my hand or something, I'm not going to get it on here. Okay, so I just lay it down. Okay, and then I want to try to push out any, you're really not going to have too many air bubbles, but you can push those out. And then try to get the edges down real good. This is a copy paper. It's just any paper doesn't, have anything on it that could mar the surface. And I'm going to burnish this down. Now, if you have a brayer, that's very helpful here. So, but if you don't, you can do it like this. And just go over it and really push it down really well. That looks pretty good. Get the edges again. Yeah. Okay, so there, it's pretty flat right now. It might bow a little bit later as it dries, but now I'll pull this off. And a little bit pulled up here. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'm just going to have to let that dry. And then I'm ready to go. And I'll paint on this surface here. And now the paint's not going to buckle. So if you do maybe several at once, and then, it's not too much of a chore to do it if you do several at once, and then you'll have a number of pieces ready to go.